we're going to go over the solution to this particular challenge. To create our Broccoli plugin, we're going to be operating entirely in one file, and that's going to be Ember CLI build.js. This is the root of your asset pipeline. This is where, where you define like how everything starts and ultimately how everything finishes. So this is an Ember app instance, but this is an Ember app in like Node.js Ember CLI terms, right? So we're writing Node.js code right now. We're not writing browser JavaScript. At the end, we're returning app.toTree, which is the Broccoli tree of our application. And there are a bunch of things, a bunch of Broccoli plugins that Ember CLI ships with automatically. And they include minification of JavaScript and CSS. If you have a production Ember CLI build, you may see that sometimes MD5 hashes are added to file names of your vendor.js and application.js so that you can do cache busting. So all of these things are just Broccoli plugins. So we're going to build our own, and I'm actually going to start with the sample code that I gave you for a Broccoli plugin. So we'll begin there. And I'm just going to delete this comment stuff for ease of readability here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a handle on the base class for our plugin, and that is Broccoli filter. So now we have this filter type, and I just pasted that in there. So this is our plugin here from line 11 through 22. So this is our constructor here. We actually don't need to do anything here. We don't need to modify the prototype at all. In terms of extensions, I'm just going to have it affect JavaScript files, and it's going to emit a new JavaScript file here. And then in terms of how we're going to modify this, I'm just going to take the existing string and I'm going to just concat it with something else. So I'll go back to my presentation here. I'm just going to grab the template for a copyright notice here. And we'll just call it prepend. And it looks like that. I wonder what, maybe it's just the syntax highlighting here that it does not enjoy. Yeah, I think we will have to. And I think that'll still work in Node 7. It should be okay. All right, so here's our prepend thing, and I'm actually going to just return prepend plus existing string. Okay, so now we have a plugin, and we need to just wire it up so that it operates on the app tree before we ultimately return it and write it out into our dist folder. The way we do that is we just install the plugin into our asset pipeline, and we're going to return a new myFilter, which operates on and modifies the apps tree. So what we should see I'm not sure if it's running. Okay. I'm just trying to cat the file out. Oh, sorry, it's going to be commently.js. Save this. Let me stop and start it again. I do need to do that. So this Ember CLI build, it is read when your app kind of starts up for the first time, and if you make any changes to your asset pipeline, you have to stop Ember CLI and start it again. Okay, so I'm just going to wait for it to build, and there it is. And if we go back here, so it probably is picking up on those emoji. So here you go. And to answer your question there, we had a question about where would these emoji get rendered, and their Unicode character equivalents are rendered instead. Okay, so now we have this comment being added, and we could very easily like make it dynamic, especially because we've used like an ES6 template literal here. And we could just do something like this. Stop it, start it again, and we'll get a nice like dynamic timestamp of when this was built. Okay, so we can see that it's 57 past the hour, so this is, I buy that that's a real timestamp from the new date that we created there. So the point here, right, you can, I've given you what the tool you need in order to build a plugin that given a text transformation of some sort, and this could be transpiling something or minifying something, but like code in, code out, style in, style out, if you have something like that, you can now build a Broccoli plugin around that, right? You can filter for particular files, affect only what you intend to affect, and hopefully this gives you some insight into how the build process works. It's really just a chain of Broccoli plugins, the first of which is grabbing your app and transpiling all of the modules and taking that JavaScript and eventually concatenating it together. So like, you can add stuff into the middle of it. You can add stuff to the end of it like we've done here. But it all boils down to Broccoli filter. So hope that's useful. Hope you are not intimidated about writing your own Broccoli code now. And after a longer break, because we're going to break for lunch now, we'll start digging a little bit deeper into the build process.